Alright, let me start out with an apology. I know not everyone is into fixed blades, kukri dance-offs, or using dumbass machetes to split wood. But the fact is we still got about 20 minutes or so of kukri-related videos to get through before we move on to another hour of fixed blades you're not interested in. Wow, another Ontario video. I understand there are a few Taiwanese-made Spydercos you'd like to know. Are they worth over $150? To answer that, there's a good chance it has a better edge grind than their American ones, and everything is worth your money. Or what about the cool new Benchmade 380 the internet is abuzz about? How well does that 1.5-inch blade perform relative to its $136 price tag? Well, it's great if you live in a tree and bake cookies and your fuck you Keebler money won't let you buy a box cutter. Do I sound grumpy? Okay, then let's get happy and swing around some kukris like the neighbors aren't watching. They are, though. Today we're going to be comparing the standard KaBar 1249 kukri machete and the basic bottom of the tactical barrel cold steel kukri. Cold Steel makes about 50 kukris, like you'd expect them to, and KaBar makes, 2, 3. The other main one you see is a smaller combat kukri, and then I think there's a Becker version or two. And if I know anything about combat, it's 11 inches is always better than 8. The real goal, though, is to compare two cheapish, westernized kukris that are usually suggested on the first pages of retailers when you type in kukri or machete while you're at work. You're on some sort of list now. So let's look at the overall length and weight, with and without the sheaths or the blue lines. Just so you know, I'm ashamed I took away the blue lines because none of these kukris are any good. Just going to beat the kukri experts to the comments. They're not real or historical kukris, so you shouldn't buy them. I'd post the comment from the Himalayan Imports kukri video. The kukri review group dude decided the best way to educate people on kukris was calling people names and insulting their intelligence. And after I argued with him a little bit, he deleted it. Handle size and grip area. Now, I don't want to sound like a know-it-all, but I'm even more traditional than that. I prefer rocks. Fuck the Bronze Age. That's for soft modern people with a penchant for spoken languages and plumbing and watching their social media stars while using the plumbing. Tallnesses. If it isn't made from a rock, then it isn't worth a shit. None of that fancy Neolithic polished and honed stuff either. I'm talking about Paleolithic, big sharpened rocks, you child. And I swear to God, I will delete the comments sign-splaining that there's a good chance the better, lighter tools they had didn't survive because they weren't made of rocks. I'll delete it. So the Cold Steel versus the KaBar. Do you have to watch the whole video? The easy answer is the KaBar. But isn't the fun part the journey? Can we meet halfway, just turn down the volume, and I get a good average watch time out of you? Now, Cold Steel makes nice knives, but they also make extremely cheap ones and some shitty ones. To oversimplify a little bit, if you're buying one of their long-bladed machete things under $30, you're getting an obtuse behind-the-edge, thin piece of sharpened sheet steel. Not all are flat pieces of steel. There's a little tapering on some, but most are. That's true of this kukri made from 1055 carbon steel in South Africa. Since it's thin, there's flex, not something common in a traditional kukri. The KaBar, on the other hand, is made from a thicker piece of, I think it's SK5 steel, but it has some tapering on the blade stock and a much more traditional fixed blade style edge at 22 degrees per side, which is sharper and can shave wood better, for instance. The SK5 steel is kind of like 1080 carbon, but SK5 refers to a specific Japanese manufacturer if my research is correct. I learned this by having to do some internet detective work based on blade forums, hearsay, KaBar's website, and the fact you can search for blades with SK5 steel on Knife Center's website, and the KaBar comes up, but it's listed as 1085 on the actual product page. So I feel real good about it being accurate. Both blades are coated with an anti-rust coating. The KaBar's is more like those traction anti-slip pad technology you find on fancy boats everywhere, and shitty ones too. A bit like fine sandpaper, and the Cold Steels is said to be baked on, and it's thin and smooth, and doesn't offer resistance. Now in my whoopins, the KaBar coating wore about normal on the sides and edges, but the coating started flaking on the spine in one spot, right up here at the top. Also, I shaved a little finger meat off by wiping the edge. As far as 1055 versus 1080 or 1085 or SK5, the SK5 has a higher carbon content and should hold an edge longer. However, since the edges are ground at very different angles, it's hard to make an A and B comparison. In place of that, though, we have subjective anecdotal evidence and internet conjecture. And the SK5 steel seems to be better using that scientific metric. The handles neither have removable scales, so if you ever destroy them, you'll have to send your busted shitty machete to a person much smarter than yourself to rescale it. Okay, they're not smarter, they just focus on different things. I, for instance, focus on lists. My 3 favorite boobies are in descending order: the Nazca, the blue-footed, and the masked. Both manufacturers claim to have full tangs. I mean, their knives have full tangs. They're not saying that they have full tangs. The KaBar's handle feels like a hard rubber and has a comfortable hand swell and stays in the palm as you swing and hit random places on the wood you're chopping. The polypropylene handle of the Cold Steel is harder and not quite as rubberized or thick as the KaBar's, but it has that, can we call it knurling? Would that be the right word? It's the right word for flashlights. I'm not looking up the definition again just to make sure I'm calling it the right thing. I, of course, prefer the thicker rubber one. One thing that might be brought up, though, is the KaBar's handle material has more give, so it seems water can work its way down into the handle. I did not notice this with the Cold Steel since it's coated, though it may not make much of a difference. I mean, I assume the tang is coated all the way down. The Sheaths, Lynn bless Cold Steel. Yeah, he can bless something he's created just like any standard tactical god. They make super cheap sheaths that fit a lot of stuff. I have bought many sub $10 sheaths from them, made from cheap Corex or nylon or recycled 511 cargo pants. The sheaths work, but they're not the best. I'm not sure what you'd expect out of tactical shit for the masses that costs $20 shipped to your door. Cold Steel's sheath isn't a dangler and rides higher. The KaBar's, on the other hand, is half leather, half Cordex, dangles so you can sit with it better, and it rides lower. Also, it's easier to snap and unsnap, to sheath and desheath. Yeah, that's a word. So I prefer the KaBar's, and I definitely need a shower after this entire paragraph. Comparisons, or unused and some recycled footage from that last Kukri video I did. If I don't care, you don't. That's how it works, right? First, the two compared to one another, like the preceding minutes before you've already watched. The Cold Steel has a longer blade, lighter by 3 ounces or so. Not a huge difference in chopping fatigue, which is a real subjective and measurable thing, believe me. I prefer the KaBar for several reasons, though. I paid about $35 for this on sale when KaBar had a half-off sale on their website. Black Friday or Christmas. I forget which. Black Christmas. It's worth the $55 you pay right now, though, because your chump ass missed the sale. Now my favorite, you guessed it, the Vacra. I know it's not traditional. Of course, traditional is always the best, whatever you define as traditional. Smallpox is traditional, for instance. Vaccinations aren't. That's why I bring my smallpox crystal with me wherever I go, hold it above a person's head. If it spins counterclockwise, I keep my kids away from them. At least 6 feet because it's science. Of course, death by saber-tooth is even more traditional than smallpox, so maybe I'm wrong. The Vacra chops well, has a great sheath and fairly comfortable handle. Now the Bud K feels light and quaint, almost compared to the Himalayan import choppers, Kukris. It's crude, made in India, not Nepal, so, less traditional. A lot of cheap Kukris in the $20 to $40 range you see on websites are Indian made, of course, unless they're a familiar brand. This one has served me well for years despite being designed and marketed for idiots like myself. How about the Himalayan imports? Fine Kukris indeed. However, that fine gentleman pointed out, but more of in a dick way, it does have a thick blade stock. Some might say overkill, and the handles could be more comfortable. I'm considering in the future getting a Kalish, Kukri, or maybe a Torah, because I just don't have any real self-control, apparently. It's an odyssey, isn't it? I mostly said this in the last video, but that didn't stop from being Kukri-splained. But I can't review what I don't currently have, and sorry for using splained twice now. Alright, let's wrap it up. What do I like about the Cold Steel other than Lynn traveling to the country of manufacture, kissing each blade as they're being QC'd? Well, it's cheap and the coating holds up well. It's an okay chopper, just your standard basic, a Kukri for basics. However, it's my least favorite of all the Kukris. The blade has a lot of flex, and in chopping you don't want flex or wobble when you hit wood. Cold Steel makes some thicker, larger, more alpha Kukris. The Kukri Plus that they make, though, that's only a few dollars more or less depending on where you buy it, looks like it might be a little better because it has a little extra finger protection, but it's still 2.8 millimeters, the same thickness as this. And it seems thin for a chopper. For example, remember my all-terrain chopper review. That blade was too heavy for an effective machete, but too long and thin for an effective chopper. On the other hand, the Cold Steel Kukri is a little too machete for my taste. If you define a machete as something to clear grass, weeds, smaller vines, or something you chase horny teenagers near a picturesque lake with. Choppers are generally shorter than a machete with thicker stock and good for heavier, woodier, plant-based material. That's why the KaBar's better. It's shorter, a little heavier, and a nicer, sharper edge. A man might even put a brimmed hat on and bushcraft with it. If it chops and slices better than the cold steel, personally it's worth the extra $30. It'd be super nice though if KaBar gave it some removable handles, same style and thickness, but just held on with screws like an Essie or the Becker KaBar line. Also, the merits of even having blade coating aside, should it really chip after 20 minutes of use, even by an idiot, I prefer uncoated and just caring for the blade, but KaBar never asked me. Also, after doing 20 minutes of digging, all the cold steel Kukris with the black blade have relatively the same blade thickness as the one in this video, which I said earlier, about 2.8. The Magnum, the Ultra Lubricated, the Plus. The Mall Ninja Chaos Edition with a knuckle cutout looks a little more in line with the KaBar's blade stock. However, it resembles something you might have to hide from your parents or, probably not bring to the ICP show because they frisk you before you get in. The more expensive cold steel Gurkha Kukris look nicer to me because they have a little more desirable blade stock and look. The TLDR, or is it the TLDL as cold steel, does not make a Kukri with specs on paper that I'd like for under $100. They're all too thin and flexible in the blade area to be used as a good chopper in my opinion. Ontario makes a decent looking one at $60, but at $55 the KaBar is probably one of the most affordable and decent performing budget Kukris, unless you want to go the ultra cheap Bud K or wherever Indian made route like the one I have. I mean, there's some Schrades, United Cutlery, and some cheap stuff with iffy steel, but try those at your own risk under $50. None of those look interesting to me. I know I'm a prude for not wanting a Kukri with a sawback, so like, subscribe, comment, Patreon. Also, I'm making a big move at the end of January. I'm trying real hard to give you guys a video a week while I'm doing it. I'm trying to get them done beforehand and uploading and shooting stuff before I leave so I have stuff to edit when I get there. Be patient if they don't upload regularly every week. And thanks again for the Patreons and the people who donate to the channel. And those people who watch my videos. Because that's kind of like a donation too and help me get that Google money. It's going to come in handy when between my current job and my next. So thanks for watching.